Are you on mute?
I think he may have said hello, Steve. Scott, you're having some audio issues. The guy
Yeah,
wears a
Scott.
lot of hats. Yeah, he runs a lot of bandwidth off his computer.
Yeah, there was a little bit of latency going on there, but thanks for the intro. We'll take it. Thank you for everybody. Boy, looking at the subscriber list, it seems like everybody got the memo. They found me, Marty. I don't know how, but they found me. So thanks for tuning in to the new and improved, streamlined Trade Ideas 2 o'clock Tuesday webinar. We just feel it's probably best to keep it simple and have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday webinars right all around the same time. So I think this is going to be a big hit, moving in the right direction a little earlier in the day, fresh off of the market. So thanks for joining us at the new time, Tuesday, 5 o'clock Eastern, Trade Ideas Trade of the Week. All right, before we get going, I'm going to just remind you all that the lawyers want us to remind you that we are not registered investment advisors. We're not here giving financial advice or legal advice for that matter. If you're looking for, some advice like that, you need to seek out somebody who is registered with a series license or an RIA. We are merely content providers here to show you some cool stuff, and as promised, we do have some cool stuff to show you. Yes, the old "you are not alone with Trade Ideas" slide. We really pride ourselves on the amount of onboarding and concierge services we have for the new subscriber. We recognize this 14-year-old program is very in-depth and can be very intimidating sometimes when you first open it up. So it's really nice to have some help, whether it's a webinar like today or whether it's the live room that you see here every day. Barry Anderson does a great job of moderating, trading his own account, and helping people with trade ideas issues. If you're not a member of this live room, you should be, because it really is the first place to start and get a feel for how the people are using the product and putting it to good use in real time. There's some great traders in there as well. So if you're not involved in this room, I did drop a link inside of the chat window on the GoToMeeting toolbar. Just expand that little plus key that says chat, because we will be dropping some more items in that chat window as well. But for now, that first link is a way for anybody that's not currently signed up to come on into the live free trading room and see what's going on in there. And so in addition to the 4 webinars we have every week, we also have the one-on-one boarding. If anybody, the one-on-one hour of power session, excuse me. If anyone out there is thinking like, boy, this looks interesting, but I might want to try a free trial. Do they have a free trial? Well, we offer a open house quarterly. We just finished one in October. Our next open house is most likely going to be in January. So if you're patient and you want to wait, open house next January, you got it. But if you want to try it sooner, consider what I'm about to say. The 1-month subscription, along with the promo code that Scott's going to give you at the end here, gives you the ability to try the program for 30 days, and it gives you the ability to sign up for that 1-hour one-on-one session where we deal directly with you and customize everything you want to get out of this program, because, as we all know and you should know, trading is not a science, it is an art form. It's very subjective, and some people want other things and other people want other things. But that 1 hour of getting you going out of the gate is really invaluable and priceless and worth the admission of trying the product for the first month using a really nice discount promo code. So after 30 days and the promo code and spending 1 hour with us, getting you in the right direction, if you decide it's not for you, well then of course that's your decision. But we really feel like we give you guys a great onboarding experience for your first month anyway. Subscriber growth just really kind of talks about what I've been just telling you. We really hold the hands of our subscribers, and we're very gracious to see this type of growth. A lot of it obviously has to do with the AI technology, but in addition to more people and more support on our staff, I believe that has a lot to do with it as well. Quick November 15th check-in on Holly's performance. If you recall, back here is the Brexit. This is where we also started to employ some new strategies and, most importantly, new risk management like trailing stops and other type of risk management. So Holly has been just a flash blue line that is the S&P or SPY in this case. So great things, still great things to come. You guys that are in and using this, you're early adopters. You should recognize that. Today the agenda you know, look at the market recap. There's some rotation going on there, and we'll explain that. The holiday from what was going on with holiday today. The trade of the week, which is this webinar's main title, Lending Club. We'll talk about a few things there, the selection of it, why it was selected, how it was selected, and what the double trigger levels that we had this week. That was kind of a new thing. Then we're going to move on to what's working. You know, if you guys recall, I set a lot of alerts on the 9th of November, last Wednesday night, and we're going to take a look at those alerts, the ones that triggered, and kind of try to glean what is working in this market and therefore what is not working and to stay away from. And then we've got a few alerts that Andy and I handpicked from a few of our scans and, you know, time permitting, maybe some charts. But that is where we are. Let's go ahead and minimize that and get right into our market recap, where we usually start with the SPY. Now, if anybody was in the webinar with myself and Jamie yesterday, we did not have this green bar. We had this kind of 3 days of doji and consolidation, and we were still in this clump range that Jamie named it, the Clinton-Trump uncertainty election range. Head fake down, and then a face ripper back up. But for a couple of days here, we were consolidating in the clump range. Well, today we broke out with conviction, and we closed on highs. That enough, you know, is rather bullish in my book. But let me just talk a little bit about rotation, because this is the Dow. The Dow has not been in favor for years. It's all been about the FANG stocks, the Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, the Googles, the big high techs, the Qs, the NASDAQ. They were leading us higher, but all of a sudden we have this election where a lot of things are going to change, and there's a lot of billion-dollar fund managers who are going to have to try and sharpen their pencil and figure out a new game plan for where they feel the profits and the alpha is going to lie going forward. So what the Dow is telling us is that, you know, good old-fashioned cement, bricks, steel, railroad, anything you can drop on your foot and say, ouch, is leading the way, at least on the short term here. So it's very unusual to see the Dow leading the market higher, because if we look at the Qs, we have the lowly Qs. They are stuck back in their clump ranges. They don't know what to do with themselves. And then, of course, I mentioned the IWM, which is the Russell 2000. Hey, look at that, breaking out. So what can this tell us, all right? Small caps and old school industrials seem to be in favor right now in terms of looking at these indexes. That's what the message seems to be telling us. We've got some serious rotation going on. Again, there is an easy markup to draw on the Dow to see exactly where we are on the Dow. Excuse me, IWM. Thank you, but that just begs the question. The Dow is already pushed through with some conviction. So rotation is going on. Not surprising considering the election we just went through and the surprises that most people didn't have. So there we are. You know, it's the bigger picture. Anything you want to add to, you know, what can be gleaned from our big daily indexes here, Andy? Obviously, we got to play this out, I think.
Well, yeah, obviously what you said is all correct. What I do want to remind people is don't get used to it. Don't get used to the Dow leading the way, because 2 weeks from now it could be the Qs could be breaking out and the Dow is pulled back. It's just kind of the silly rotation we have seen. You know, it just seems like these algorithms they all get on the same boat and run it for a while, and then next. Who knows? The financials are doing very well. I know you looked at the XLF. You're going to pull that up for them later. So we'll take a look at that chart. But yes, don't presume that this is going to be the leaders going forward, because I've seen them pass the baton so many different times that nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah, these Qs are a mess. I mean, that's really just a mess. That's just no man's land. So.
Exactly.
We're not looking for leadership from the Facebooks and the Amazons and Googles right now until things change. Matter of fact, it's probably worth putting up the TLT just to get a little bit more in depth. This is a major break in the price of the treasuries, which is why people are talking about interest rates starting to move back up. So another interesting thing, and that I might as well just, you know, go to the we got a glitch in this chart, but trust me, here's the XLF. All right, so higher interest rates, decent for banks, decent for financials. This is a real zoomed-in picture of the XLF financial spider, but this is going to come into play a little bit later as we talk about Lending Club. So, anything else you wanted to add in our
No, just I mean I think
major market here?
yeah, I talked about this a while back and watching that TLT. I think the Fed's hands being forced. In other words, the market's going to dictate. Yeah, when you're raising rates now, buddy, they're not going to have a choice because of inflation and yeah, and the bond. I mean, it's just yeah. So it's pretty obvious now whether we'll see whether this economy can take that because I just don't. Yeah, there's no other.
Yeah, the Feds can only hold back the rates so long for political reasons, but now that that's over, I wouldn't be surprised, quite honestly, to see the Fed raise rates again the very next meeting. But like Andy says, the TLT, the bonds are forcing the hands of the Fed. They're just going, all right, great, we're just going to put rates higher on the 2-year and the 10-year and the 20, whatnot.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where we are. S&P wise, looking like these 3 days of congestion were exactly what they were supposed to be, and big push today, closing on highs. Haven't seen that a lot lately, closing on highs. Usually we get some wick and a pullback. Got all these wicks back here. So even in that respect, that's some major conviction there on today's close.
Yeah, and of course you might as well finish off with the UUP. That take a look at the dollar and see what it's
the dollar. Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to be sort of inverse to what you're seeing on the bond. So, that has a lot to do with the market. When you look at it based in dollar terms. So, strong dollar. Yeah, strong dollar.
Gold.
Yeah, gold. Yeah.
So there's major rotations going on right now. What's this? What's going on out there? It's kind of interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that being that, I think what we're going to move next to is just a quick Holly recap. So today was definitely a risk-off day. A lot of quick hits, even though the market was kind of, it started off a little bit choppy here. Let me just go to the intraday. There we go. Here we are on the 15th. We never really got through when we pulled back, and then we finally got through towards the end of the day. We had a really nice end of day run, but for the most part, there was a lot of quick hits with Holly. Now, yesterday, for those that attended the webinar, I coined a new term. The term is sector bias. I've talked about directional bias with Holly when we see a lot of trades early in the morning, especially early in the morning when the market is looking for direction, usually around 10 o'clock. We can see some directional bias. But yesterday, it was very interesting to point out the 5-day bounce kicked out about, I don't know, at least a dozen GDX gold miners. You look down and there's nothing but gold miner, gold miner, gold miner. Holly was buying a lot of gold miners, and that was kind of the play. It was a decent little move yesterday. But what I'm saying is we got to take this a step further sometimes with Holly and understand where these sectors are. So if you're not using this window here, this is called the single stock window. And to launch one, it's very simple. Just new single stock, and you'll see it comes out defaulted with these basis data points. Excuse me. Mine is a bit more customized. You can customize yours by going to configure, and if you can find it on here, you can add it to your data points. Bollinger Bands, great. Add them, send them in. But one of the things that I do like to look at is, what sector are these things in? And so this morning we had some interesting moves. CMR shipper, okay, GLBS, another deep sea freight transportation. We had a GNK, all kind of come out earlier in the morning. So point being, I don't know if any of you else caught this, but Holly was kind of tipping us off again today to where the action was in terms of sector bias. Sector bias today being the shippers. I'm sure everybody and their mother that was alive today understood what was happening in dry ships with the low floating dry ships and the low floating Eagle. But what Holly was doing was giving us some second and third tier names we may not have been aware of. So really important when you check these things when they come out, see if there's any sort of a pattern going on. Were they all, were the majority of them gold miners like yesterday? Were a few of them in a row bulk shippers like they were today? That can create other ideas as well for you. Maybe there's a shipper that she didn't call out that you know that you otherwise would not have picked up on. You want to say something?
No.
Okay. A couple of decent trades today. This GLBS, Holly took a real quick 13 cent because, again, the profit save. You guys are starting to see a pattern. The profit save is basically Holly really saying, I'm skittish on this. I am not going to let a winner turn into a loser. But I see so many times these profit saves, they can kind of continue to move on and produce more alpha. This thing went a lot higher than it did after Holly got out. This one right here, same thing, profit save. Holly took her 8 cents, but HMNY actually had a lot more alpha to deliver before closing back on lows near the end of the day. Let's see, was it CMRE?
You mentioned the CRDS, right?
The CRDS. Top. I'm thanking you. Yes, this was the high alpha mover of the day.
Yes.
This level. And for the rest of the day, really nice winner, 15-16% winner. Holly took 76 cents out of it before the old time stop, but this one just wanted to continue to move higher. Real quickly, I'll answer that question on your charts. The up and down arrows, the candle forms. The arrow is actually the candle that was alerted to. Now we're going to go on some demonstrations. I'm going to hit this thing pretty hard here in a few minutes, and the arrows are going to make a lot more sense. But whenever we double click, Fred, into a Holly trade or a scan trade, we're going to get an arrow on the intraday chart and the daily chart. But the intraday chart really is where it shows us which blue tag is the entry, 460, as you guys see right here, entry price 460. So we're just trying to make it easy on the eyes to highlight where the actual candle was for the entry. So kind of a quiet day. The last thing I really want to talk about is let's just sort here. What was Holly telling us today? Well, we had 9 trades, 9 for 9 long, 100%. 9 long trades made money. We had 9 short trades that didn't make money. So, at some point during the day, at the end of the day, Holly started firing off some shorts, and they weren't really working. So, it kind of gave you an early look that this market was just, you got to put your trader's hat on and say this market is just pushing higher. For whatever reason, Holly's seeing some resistance levels, but the scoring of today, there was probably 5 or 6 trades, that came out before that were probably red and just not showing it. So, interesting juxtaposition to look back on the day, batting 1,000% going long, and batting pretty poorly going short. What
can I add something?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, if you had take the entry time and sort it by entry time with the later trades at the top, you can see all these shorts came in late in the day. Holly had what I thought was an incredible trade. Yeah, you could see it was up above $1.38 for $1.40, but when you see late in the day like this, the last hour, her firing off a lot of contrarian headwind is contrarian play. That means she's fading an up move. A lot of times on these contrary ones, even like the pullback ones, looking for bounces and things like that, you have time, It's not a momentum trade where a lot of times, like the CRDS, it's a momentum trade, it's breaking out, you got to react quick. A lot of these ones, this is where you have to put your trader's hat on. Okay, Holly, it's statistical probability that this trade is going to work, but yet you're looking at the market is ripping up in the last hour, and you're seeing these fades go off. That's when you got to ask yourself, what, I'm going to hold back here. The market is moving higher, and I think and she, honestly, I don't think she was ever really positive
in any of them. Yeah. No, you look at the first 2 trades, and if they're both negative, maybe a third trade negative, and they're all shorts on the same thing, that's a bit of a caution. It's like, people say, sitting on the coast in California watching a surfer out there just getting smashed in some horrible waves, or, the canary in the coal mines, not breathing real well at the moment. Use that to your advantage certain times throughout the day. Okay. All right. So, that begs the question, where are we going next? We're going to go to the trade of the week. And real quickly, yes, somebody's asking what broker is available to use with Holly. Right now, Holly is a tool. It is not hooked up to any brokers. We do have a San Diego hedge fund we have great connections with that we're going to begin testing with the hedge fund. But we are going to crawl before we even begin to walk with Holly when it comes to automated trading. So, all that stuff's way down the road. We're still doing a lot of in-house stuff. So Holly is not available to automate right now. Holly is just our unemotional sidekick trading shotgun robot that we can glean directional biases, interesting trades, interesting levels, and things like that. Okay, so the trade of the week is what we're going to move on to, which is what this really is designed for. The trade of the week was LC. Let me zoom in a little bit here and let you guys see what we saw going into the weekend. Saw a few things. First off, we always start with our Trade Ideas technology to try and find the best setups. Well, LC is a typical trend change lubricant. This thing has been beaten up down pretty bad on the year. And hang on one second, I'm going to close this out. Been beaten up pretty badly on the year along with everything else on this list. And this trend change looks for high short float potentials to try and really turn the corner and move higher with some short float. So the genesis of the trade of the week started off on a trend change lubricant. I liked the way this chart looked. Let's pull back a little bit more. And what I liked was that it had earnings a few days ago, and obviously earnings were good. And then we had a day of pullback. We had another day of pullback, a nice bottoming tail, bouncing, which is pretty much a washout kind of a bounce, which you guys have heard me talk about before. Then 2 days, 2 more days, and what we've got here is what Steve coined the horseshoe. Some people might call it a fish hook. Trade Ideas calls it a false candle chart or a daily chart. It doesn't matter. The candles represent a gap up, an attempt to reverse the gap up, but they lost, the sellers, I should say, lost control. The buyers took control, moved the price back near highs. Right here, let me put my crosshairs back on. Right here at highs, this is one of our alerts when you see a horseshoe up alert on the weekend, guys. So LC made it to our short list. Now, as I mentioned earlier, XLF also was a broader index that was breaking out. So another green check mark to add to the possibility of LC being a trade of the week. That, in addition to the horseshoe pattern, these horseshoe patterns usually work well. Let me give you an example of Pandora. Pandora, back here, this was a horseshoe pattern. I'm going to actually try and zoom back, if I can. Here we go. Zoom back, then zoom in, zoom back, zoom in. So this is kind of a fractal horseshoe pattern here. Gap up, can't close the gap. And once it goes back through highs, this is the kind of stuff we should expect. Not always, but this is what I expect to happen, and that's what I'm expecting to continue to hopefully happen with LC. Now, when we took the when we wrote the trade up, we had to give a trigger point. The trigger point could have gone either way. We could have said, well, we really don't want to chase this candle, but this particular pattern lends itself to that. There's usually momentum that follows this area right here on the horseshoes up and the horseshoes down. So if you'll notice, for the astute readers that actually read the email, there was 2 trigger levels given. Basically, trigger level 1 was 618 right here, which was the high on Friday. Trigger level 2 was to maybe try and sneak off a better entry if we could, if there was any noise on the open. I think it was down here like around 587, but it didn't do that. And the last thing we wanted to do was hope for a pullback. It did triggered trade, and it was about as easy as it could get. Looking at the open yesterday, pretty much opened right where it closed. Gave us a really nice pop, returned to the scene of the crime from where it broke out, another nice pop, returned to the scene of the crime again for a sec. Fully expect some continuation. Now, there is one big caveat on this. If some of you guys are in this trade and you're in the money nicely, these can be the areas where you can start to think about maybe selling half. Let me look left. Well, what do we got here? We got ourselves a pretty strong pivot level that we just slammed into today. So we're in the money on the trade, but now we've got to see if we can get through this little level of resistance. We've got to see if we can turn this support around and pivot through it, and basically this congestion here as well. So when you guys are making money in trades, which is always the desirable thing, you still always have to be mindful of where does this possibly frustrate me. So this could be a type of level where maybe you just sell a third, and it takes the demon off your shoulder, allows you to know that you took some profit, and then maybe you can wiggle back and forth a day or two under this level and then push higher, we're hoping. But, those are the real main reasons for the selection of the trade of the week. The horseshoe pattern is always a lovely pattern to see, especially on a daily chart. It works usually better on a daily chart than it does on an intraday. So there's your trade of the week. If somebody's looking for, a stop level, obviously the trade is in the money now. I probably wouldn't want to see this trade come back down, and start heading back towards this gap. You got to give it a few candles. I'm not going to put out a recommendation. I'm going to let you guys figure that out yourself. But, maybe something around these areas, to protect some of the profit that you have up here, but not give too much back, because if anywhere near this gap, we want continued movement higher, and we like to sell while we can. Think of this as a real estate market. These are realtors, these are sellers, home buyers, getting their price and getting 20 grand above their bid price. Why? Because it's a seller's market. The bidders are bidding it up. That might not last forever. So you got to sell when you can, not when you have to. Take a little bit off, and it makes it so much easier to work. Steve, can you share your bouncer? It's about 10 or 15 minutes on this bouncer scanner. So we will be doing that. Is the trend change lubricant formula a link in the TI cloud? It is not, but I'm happy to drop it in there. And I'm happy to quickly give a little explanation for people who don't know. Let's just start clicking on these things and zooming way out. And what you're going to see are stocks that are beaten up really bad on the daily, but trying to base and trying to move higher. But we're using short float as secret sauce. This one was triggered just a couple days ago, CIE, moving sideways, triggered through the green price, and this thing's actually moving. What do we got here? 22% short the float on a lot of shares. But this is the general theme behind this particular one, and it's up to you, the trader, throughout the day to be looking at stocks that you see and go, oh, you know what? And not for the sake of showing you, but this is what you've got to do throughout the day. You can't just wait for the end of the day and say, okay, what do we got? Because there's some stuff on here that might work and slip back just 1 percentage point, and then it's dropped off your filter. So it's a common habit for me to be watching this thing throughout the day. What we have is short float into 1,000. But this is where magic comes in right here. Where's the first one? Position in year range. Trade Ideas has position in ranges. We have 5-minute ranges all the way up to life with position in year range. We're going to try and quantify the big picture here. We're using a filter to really quantify the bigger picture, not just an intraday scan. Was the percentile for the 52-week low, the lowest tick of the 52 weeks, and 100 was a percentile of the 52-week high. Then what we're doing is we're just capping it off and suppressing here at 35% and above. We don't want to see anything that's more than 35% above the lows of the stock. So that guarantees us we're going to see stocks in downtrends. But then what we do is we come back with the second layer of where these have to be up 1% from the close as well. Change 1% from yesterday's close. That's some time. But the second most important thing again is position and range 20-day low, and 100 is going to equal a 20-day high. So what we got is basically crank it up to 90%, show us that's where we start to get some of these stocks that are basing and turning and rounding back up. Then it's up to us to put our trader's hat on and find the level that makes sense as to where the short sellers might get freaked out use our price alerts, create that price alert, and then forget about it. And then when that price alert goes off, we know that this thing has some short sellers that might not be happy with where the pivot. Going to the price alerts, which we will set somewhere later, you'll notice that I sorted by the date created. The last time we met was November 9th. Let's do this again. The last time we met was November 9th. Okay, these were all the alerts that were set. It looked like all these triggered. This one did not trigger, and this one did not trigger. But what's working, guys? Trend change lubricant. Trend change lubricant 20 small float. Trend change lubricant. Trend change brake. Yeah. This is what. This is. This is if I sort here, we can see. Let's just working. So we've got to stick with what's working, and these are the ones that we gave you last week. As a matter of fact, I do recall you're about ready to make an all-time high. And this was our alert that so it went from 28.56 all the way up to 31.60. Some pretty decent alpha there. Why? 42% short the float, guys. And putting your trader's hat on, do you want to be a short seller holding a short as it breaks above that green line? No, you don't. So this is the kind of stuff that's been working, and this is the kind of stuff we're going to continue to try and focus on this week. So trend change lubricant, I'm happy to copy, save, and share. I will drop this into the chat window. There's no uniform or no custom formula needed for that. So if you're late to the party and haven't been using that one, the one that I just discussed was just dropped into the chat window there. All right, now we're going to have a little fun. We talk about Holly. We talk about a lot of the great scans we use. But there's one that I started talking about last week called the Bouncer. And I have to give Mike Noss credit. He basically gave me the basis of this. I think I may have today. And these are my West Coast times. Let's just start, down here at WMGI, because I started drawing. What I guys want you to do is I want to open this up a little bit. I want you to pay attention, and the orange line is actually the trigger price. So I'm just going to start from the bottom here. About the kind of alpha that this particular thing is generating here, so we can get kind of a very nice all-day move there. Over there. There's a couple of duplicates in here. I'll try not. What's happening here, guys, is this particular algorithm is called the crossing of congestion. But filters say, look, this thing has to be in the very, very low quadrant. Like I said, position and range, remember? So think of yesterday's candle, position and range, 1 being 0 being the low and 100 being the high. Let me just quickly show you. If we're using a yesterday's position and range here, and I really feel like this is just the crazy secret sauce. Position and previous day's range, minimum 1%, so just a hair tick off the lows, and then maxed out at the 10 percentile. So everything above 10 percentile is not going to trigger. So this is kind of the early warning system that I think makes this alert work so well. Is that it's breaking below yesterday. And it's typical of what Andy and I talk about, the noise in the market, breaking the lows, looking to run the stops, a failure of running the stops, and then once we get back above into the low end of yesterday's range and the algorithm confirms that we have broken through resistance, that's when these trades are triggering. All right, so that was A. Let's just go to Y. Oh, I know why, because my configure is still open. I hate it when I do that. You got to close that before I can move on.
Yeah.
It's the one that took me 10 minutes to
Gets me all the
figure out.
time.
Here's another one. Nice, long alpha. Nothing really to worry about. Here's a duplicate. Skip over that duplicate. This one challenged, held the level, and then broke. We talk a lot about that on Holly sometimes. Levels get re-challenged. But I can go on and on. I mean, I think you guys kind of get the picture here. This is some really nice all-day alpha. Now, if today was going to lows in the market, would this be working as well? Probably not. And am I at some point going to take this and flip it upside down and start testing it for short sells? Probably yes, but it's just not the time yet. All right. Now let me pull up something here. I want to show you guys what I did at 10:30 my time. Right about here, I probably stopped. REG. This one did not work. Oh, perfect segue. Look at this. I went ahead and I did what anybody can do. Okay. I said, how can I look at all these without, getting my pencil and paper out and adding these? Let's just use simple spreadsheet, intelligence. So I right-clicked, Save Contents. The Save Contents feature allows you to export to an Excel file CSV. All right, so all that information that I was working on went to an Excel file. Then I went back through at about 10:30. All right, now when I say 10:30, I'm talking about here. Okay, I was looking at numbers basically here, middle of the day, here. So there was still a couple hours left to go before we got to 1 o'clock p.m. So the numbers I'm showing you still had a lot of meat on the bones. But let's just take a look here. REG. Here's REG. Let's take a look at the chart. Didn't work. Never really worked from the start. But as you can see, I went through and did that with every single one of these trades using the entries that I just clicked through and showed you. I took out the duplicates, and oh my God, look at what this thing is producing. And this thing produced $7.59 of alpha to the upside today with only 1, 2, 3, 4 losers. And let's just take an example. I mean, that Schwab, where did I have Schwab? 36.53. Where did Schwab finish? 37.21. Okay. This is actually not indicative of what happened. What happened today was a lot better than what I'm showing you. So just wanted to kind of move you guys through the steps of why I'm really liking this alert. I mean, it's not spitting out half and halves. A lot of them really seem to have some movement to them, and the only way that I could tell if that was the case was to throw these into a spreadsheet and then grab the midday time, and as I said, you saw a lot of those charts continue to move higher. This number is probably more like $10 for the day. So an interesting exercise, and you guys can do that too on anything that you have that you're making on your own strategies at any given time. Right-click, just go in there and save contents to a CSV file, and then you can start working on spreadsheets and calculating profits and loss. Again, there's Schwab. Let's see, Voya probably moved higher, but I'm just I can't. Maybe you can tell in my voice, but I'm extremely impressed with this alert. Key, I was probably, well, let's take a look. That's actually gone already. It's okay. It was basically right here. There was definitely more alpha to be used. Why not back test it and see if the P&L is there? Leon, we're way ahead of you. This thing has already been back tested. It's a wonderful base strategy for Holly. It has been submitted to Holly, and these are the kinds of behind the scenes things that we do to try and really deliver a decent strategy to Holly. So what I'll do is just right off the bat, right-click and share it, and you guys are free to back test this sucker however you like. 30-minute hold, all-day hold, whatever you can come up with. But this thing is looking pretty interesting. And I talked to Brad about it today. I showed him the same results, and he said, yeah, Holly was entered yesterday into the combine, so he said you may be seeing her real soon. I assume that we'll still be named bouncers. If he gives it a different name, I'll try and let you guys know. But that's the alert. Did I enter it yet? No, I didn't, did I? 335. Let me go ahead and save and share to cloud, copy all, and I'll title it Bouncers and paste. And again, the beauty of this, guys, is there is no custom formula. So you don't need to worry about going in and doing the custom formula. Everything will work just fine as is. But real excited about this one. I think it's too early to flip it upside down and see how it works on the downside, because I don't know if you guys saw this market that we talked about earlier. It is not stopping. So until that time comes, we're going to focus on the long side. All right, great. So I see we're caught up with questions, and I've got pretty much everything that I wanted to drop in there in the chat window for the cloud links for you guys. So that really only leaves us, let's set a few alerts. And then again, back in the vein of what's working, let's try and stick with what's working, which is looking for some short squeezes. I mean, go back to the spiders. I would say we still have some short sellers who are a little bit upset. And this is the kind of recipe in the bigger picture. If you zoom out, this is why I'm not surprised if you guys click on a lot of those trend change lubricant stocks. You're going to see 4, 5, 6 days of green candles just running straight up. We are in short squeeze heaven right now. Look at what happened to the shippers today, the dry ships and things like that. Just unbelievable. So with that said, let's set a few, and then we'll share a few. I will start with the trend change lubricant. And as I said throughout the day, you have to keep an eye on these things. Which I is Intelsat, is not on at the close, but it was on during the day, and it has a nice 36% short the float, earnings behind us, and not a huge, but 38 million shares. I'm just going to want to, I think this was the level we talked about, right, Andy, or were we talking about getting a head start? Or we're just going to wait for the clear?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to wait for the clear on this one, and I don't mind if it takes 4 or 5 days to get there, but the high is 323, so we'll go 324. And then again, just so I can know when I look back what's working and what's not working, trend change lubricant is working at 36% short the float. So if that thing triggers and creates more profit, I know that that is still working. What also was on there? FI was on here at one point today. And I really like how it's bounced off lows and is going sideways. FI also has 18% short the float, rather large float. But the congestion right back here, I think, is interesting. I mean, if we back way out, this thing, it was a $55 stock at one time. If the shorts do lose this level right here at 1504, they're probably going to freak. So again, it's up to us guys to find these levels of where you think the short sellers might lose their marbles and start to cover and buy. And buying begets more buying. Then you have a short squeeze, trend change lubricant, but only 18%. So we'll leave that as is. The last one is actually on here today. It's still on there at close. It's LPG. LPG, love the way it's approaching this level right here. So this is the obvious level. Look left, congestion, resistance. And look how it's just kind of hovering for 1, 2, 3 days going sideways. That's the action we kind of want to see. So let's grab the high of this candle, 1713. Right click, make the adjustment, 1713. This is trend change lubricant, 31%. And the float's not that great, only 40 million in the float. So we'll give ourselves as much information as we can. So those are the ones that are set off of that alert. I've only got 6 for you today. Actually, I think I've got 7. Let's take a look. That should be determined. My washout bounce has been one that I liked a lot, but has recently not been doing a whole lot, but it's kind of an honorable mention today on the washout bounce. This RDN put in a really nice hammer candle after faking everybody out on the breakout. Could be an interesting follow-through if it wants to follow through on today's highs. So we'll just go ahead and grab today's highs and pop this one in there as such. We're going to call this washout so we know if it fails, that one just didn't quite work. All right, now, remember, guys, where we got Ollie last week. Last week we got Ollie off of my Squeeze Me alert. And in the Squeeze Me alert, we squeezed him even more. And what do I mean by that? We went into the configuration and used our handy-dandy position in year range, which I explained to you guys earlier. Position in year range, minimum 90. Okay, so these are all stocks that have a minimum 25% short the float or higher, and just some very simple filters. But when I come through this 90%, we're really chopping off the ones that are in the lower end of their range. These are all stocks that are within 10% of making a new 52-week high. And there's a couple on here that I like. VMW is one. VMW appears to have 28% short, a pretty big float, 111. But what I'm going to do is expand the daily, let you see what I'm seeing. Had a nice pullback, nice move higher. I just think this thing is going to be a breakout at some point, and because of all of the congestion here, it has not spent much energy getting back up to there. So we're going to use this as a breakout point. 79.15. We'll go 79.16. Now on these ones, guys, you got to be careful, because sometimes when they break out, if they don't follow through, try and keep a tight leash on them. They don't always work like the Ollie did. Ollie had some really nice short float to help us, and as does VMW. But be aware, once this thing crosses that line, we want to see it stay above that line and not come back and close below that line. RDN, no,
you've already hit that one.
It's Ren. It is. It's Ren. Ren is the last one, and I really like this one because it has the double component, really. It's got 29%. We'll call it 30% short. That's very significant. But it's doing it on 9 million shares. I should move this over so they're very close to each other. 9 million share float. Not much to write home about. So when you see stocks like dry ships that have under 1 million shares, they start to do crazy things. When you see stocks like CWEI, when we last checked, had a 10 million share float. Stocks like REN here with the same size float, flirting with 52-week highs, could get interesting. But rather than wait for it to clear the highs, we're just going to go at today's highs. And if there's anything above 31.35 tomorrow, this thing could be interesting, knowing what we know about the short float. So I'm going to have to give myself my notes here. 29%, but 9 million float. That's the biggie. That's the biggie that I want to remind myself. 29%, not dollars. Okay, so that one is now set. So that's the thinking. Trying to continue to go with what's working. Long is working, short is not working. Short squeezes have been working because we've got a little bit of adjustment and rotation in the market right now, and we had an election that caught a few people off guard. So until that stops working, that's going to be my focus. So if you want to add, Andy, I'll go ahead and sort these, and then we'll share them as working price alerts for those that want them. All right, so let's go back.
Somebody's asking for squeeze me too.
Okay. We'll get you that. Don't let me leave without that. So what we're going to do today is today's the 15th, we created these working alerts. Last week I deleted by mistake. This week I'm going to pay close attention and share 6 price alerts. Okay, so I'll title this price alerts, paste, and then remember, guys, I cranked up that squeeze me on the position in your range to 90%. You can play with that. You can adjust it up or down however you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and share it as is, just like this. Okay. Drop squeeze me. All right, it is in there. Okay, thank you. Quick question from Paul. Link individual charts to specific alert windows. It's actually the opposite, Paul. The alert windows are linked to the charts. Now, if I don't want one of my charts to move with it, I have to turn off symbol linking. So therefore, when I continue to link, when I continue to move through, this particular one chart doesn't. So it's kind of a universal linking. To just assign one chart to one alert and another alert to another chart, we don't have that functionality. To the best of my knowledge, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. All right, so we got everything in the window. I didn't forget anything. Great. Thank you guys for showing up. Thanks for the new hours. You guys made it. Actually, a bigger than normal attendance, in my opinion. So I think we did the right
Oh yeah,
thing
very nice.
in bringing this thing down close to the market hours when everybody is not with their families, drinking their favorite adult beverages in the evening. So this will probably be a mainstay, and I'm liking it. Andy's liking it. It's fresh after the market. We are good to go. So I will see you next Tuesday again at the 2 o'clock time, but not before I bring in Scott to remind you guys all how that might want to think about signing up for a 1-month subscription. You're going to need a cool promo code to give yourself a little bit of extra juice to let us thank you. So take it away, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for the good prezo today. Another reminder, the session was recorded, so you can rewatch it later tonight or tomorrow. You get an email reminder about where to find it after it gets uploaded and transcoded. So that code, Holly Alpha, all caps, will save you 15% off your first month or year of premium. And that saving off of the annual premium is really the best bang for your buck. That code will also save 10% off your first month or year of standard. So if you're a little uncertain about whether or not Trade Ideas is right for you, all the subscriptions do come with a full hour of one-on-one training. And our trading room, the live trading room, is accessible every day, whether or not you're a subscriber. So you could always pick up a $99 a month subscription, take 10% off of that for your first month, get the full hour of training and use the trading room. And that's an outstanding value right on its own, and then go ahead and do an upgrade. Or just jump right into the premium. Premium is where the Holly AI is, the shareable price alerts are located, other advanced features. Although both include, the standard and the premium both include all your real-time exchange data, your exchange fees, the training, access to the trading room, charting, all that kind of good stuff. So, don't wait on that. You can also download a handout. If you go to the handouts panel on your GoToWebinar interface, click on the little plus sign next to where it says handouts, and you can download a PDF that also includes really useful contact information in addition to this promotional code. So you can email us at info@trade-ideas.com for any of your questions. That goes directly into our help software for routing to the appropriate team member here. Or you can contact us directly. We're easy to get a hold of. Steve is Steve at, Andy is Andy at trade-ideas.com. Like our Facebook page, because if you're on the Facebooks, you may as well follow us there, because we do post some additional content there that we don't post elsewhere. So it's Trade Ideas Pro, and that's at facebook.com. And Steve Gomez is Today Trader on Twitter. You can follow Dan Merkin, our CEO, at Trade Ideas 1. We also have some other Twitter accounts you can find, like Trade Ideas and QuantBot and a couple of others. Thanks all. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording momentarily and start converting that so I can get it up and send it to you guys momentarily. Hang in there for that. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Andy. And
Thanks.
All right, thank you, Scott.
yeah, and everyone's going to get an invite for our question and answer demo session tomorrow, and that's at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on Wednesday. And then we have another webinar that's educational on Thursday, and that's the Trading Studio hosted by Andy. So just keep an eye out for those invites and tune into those. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. See you.